Hello everyone and welcome to another video of Mr. Mark Explains History, and today we're going to talk about the atomic bomb in the context of the Cold War. So our main topic is the Cold War, and we look at the tension between the two big superpowers, the USA and the USSR. In the previous videos we've been talking about the Grand Alliance, which meant that the US and the Soviet Union worked together in order to defeat Nazi Germany. So we already discussed that Nazi Germany was defeated, that they met each other again at the Potsdam Conference to discuss the future of Europe and the world, and that they still had to defeat Japan, and that's when the atomic bomb is going to be used. So that's what we're going to talk about today, about that last act, let's say, of the Grand Alliance, defeating Japan and the atomic bomb. So, little recap about the Potsdam Conference. The big three met there again, represented by Attlee, Truman, and Stalin. So, two new people compared to the Yalta Conference. And they agreed to a couple of things about the future of Germany, Europe, and the world. So, first of all, the issue of Germany. They confirmed that they would divide the country into those four zones of occupation. And that in each zone they could take some reparations, especially the Soviet Union wanted to take a lot of reparations, a lot of stuff from their part. And they also agreed to denazify Germany and, let's say, put the people on trial who committed crimes, war crimes, etc. They also agreed to the new border, especially the new Polish border. In practice, this meant that Poland kind of moved to the west. They got some part of Germany in the west, and they lost land in the east to the Soviet Union, which you can see on this map. And this meant that a lot of people had to be, let's say, were moved or were forcibly resettled. A lot of Germans, I talked about it, died in this movement, but also people here, Polish, Ukrainians, they all moved to the new Polish lands. I actually was in Szczecin a couple of days ago, and the whole population there was pretty much replaced. So all the Germans left, and Polish and Ukrainian people moved there. So a lot of people on the move because of that decision. And they also agreed to fight together against Japan. The Soviets were officially not in a war with Japan. We're going to talk about it a bit more later. But they promised to join, and the other two, and the US and the UK, they agreed on the terms of surrender, which was unconditional surrender for Japan. And Truman added the words, if they do not agree, Japan, prompt and utter destruction would follow. And those words were not a lie. So let's talk a bit about the fight against Japan, which is also called the Pacific War. The US, in order to defeat Japan, used a strategy of leapfrogging, of island hopping, which meant to conquer a couple of strategic islands and then make their way to Japan. And they would be able to cut supply routes, etc., to beat Japan in multiple ways. This war was very deadly. There were many American casualties, and the Japanese soldiers were known for their, let's say, persistence, their dedication. They would really fight until the death, and it was really a shame to be captured for Japanese soldiers, so they would rather not be captured, and their casualties were also very high. And for example, the kamikaze flights are very well known, so just kill themselves, sacrifice themselves. So because of this mentality also, it was really hard to defeat them, and they would not surrender. So it was a very tough campaign against Japan. So in August 1945, they offered these terms of surrender to Japan, the US and the UK, which they rejected. And then the decision was made to drop the atomic bomb. Why? Because of this Japanese mentality. They did not expect that they would surrender in a more conventional way. And looking at the casualties of American soldiers, but also Japanese civilians, it was agreed that this weapon should be used to end the war. There was also a lot of pressure from the American society and American politics to quickly end the war. Now, Germany was defeated, so also Japan should be defeated. So this pressure combined with that tough fight against Japan, this Japanese mentality, those many American casualties led to this decision to drop the atomic bomb. So about the dropping, let's say, of the atomic bomb, when they were doing that. So on the 6th of August 1945, the first atomic bomb, also in history, was dropped on Hiroshima. Terrible event, of course. I'll talk later a bit more about the casualties and the effects. So the whole city was instantly destroyed. So you would expect the Japanese to be totally shocked and surrender, but they still did not want to do it. They want to keep on fighting. So Truman gave a new warning, like if you keep on fighting, more destruction will follow, and he used more words for that. Also, the Soviets now declared war just before the second bomb was dropped. So they are also in the war, so the pressure was more building on Japan. Then, a couple hours actually after the Soviets declared war and attacked the Japanese, they dropped the second bomb on Nagasaki. Again, a whole city destroyed, many people died instantly. But some within the Japanese army still wanted to keep on fighting. In the end, the emperor kind of took matters in his own hands. And he announced the surrender of the Japanese on the 15th of August 1945. So then the war was over, World War II finally ended. So what were some of the effects of the atomic bomb? So let's first talk for, let's say, in Japan and then on the Cold War. So around, well, we don't know the exact numbers, but estimations say around 200,000 people died instantly because of the two bombs, because of the two atomic bombs being dropped, and those two cities, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, were totally destroyed. You can see here on a picture that practically nothing was standing there anymore. So this is, a terrible bomb, terribly powerful. And also what is worse, let's say, about this bomb is, of course, because the radiation caused more problems, long-term problems, even affecting people until this day. So really some long-term effects, high risk of cancer. Because of the radiation, people died in the week after, the day after, 1 year later, or high risk of cancer and died because of that. So long-term, way more people were affected because of those two bombs being dropped. A big question is then, was it justified to drop this terrible bomb on those two cities in Japan? The American argument, and I tend to, I would say, agree with this, is that this was a way to end the war quickly and to save lives. This sounds maybe a bit weird, like you kill 200,000 people instantly. How is that saving lives? Well, if you look at, for example, the Battle of Okinawa, between 40 to 150,000 civilians died. And this is just one island, not even the mainland of Japan. Also 13,000 US soldiers died and 94,000 Japanese soldiers. So if these are just the casualty rates from the battle for one relatively small island and not even the mainland, imagine the fight they would put up for the mainland and how many civilians and US soldiers would die because of that. So, and seeing the Japanese mentality and how the civilians were also brainwashed by propaganda, this might be a pretty likely scenario. So these measures were justified in that sense. Other people say no. One, it's an unethical weapon because of the things I just said, the long-term effects, the radiation, the utter destruction. Some people say it's also unnecessary. With conventional means it could have been done and they were already about to surrender. Well, seeing that the Japanese army generals did not even want to surrender after bomb number 2, for me that's also a bit less likely. Another thing is setting a precedent, so using that it's okay to use such weapons in war, and that the world became a more dangerous world. So that in wars, these types of weapons, these very lethal weapons, were used. We're going to talk more about that later, about the arms race and nuclear weapons, etc. So it's still a debate until this day on, was it justified? Okay, for our main topic, the question is, what was the effect on the relationship between the US and the Soviet Union? So the bomb being dropped, some people say actually this is the start of the Cold War and tensions are really rising from this point onwards. There's other moments you can identify, maybe even Yalta, maybe Potsdam, maybe later Truman Doctrine. But the atomic bomb is really marking the end of World War II and the start of the Cold War. So why are tensions increasing? For starters, the US had kept the atomic bomb a secret. So Stalin officially didn't know about it. He knew because of his spies, but officially he didn't know. So this caused distrust and that they were not really true allies. The second thing is that the US from that moment showed that they possessed this super powerful weapon, a super weapon. They demonstrated their power. And this caused also a lot of tension between the two. So the US could now threaten with this weapon, or they were threatening in the sense for the Soviet Union. So this also increased tension. And that the fact that the war is now truly over, Japan is defeated, Germany is defeated. So they really start looking at each other more in the sense of enemies again, as they did before World War II. In the next video, we're going to talk about the Iron Curtain speech and the long telegram, and also the effect this had on the superpower relations and tensions of the Cold War. So thank you for watching. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, etc. I'm always happy to answer questions and open for feedback, so let me know. Thank you for watching and see you next time.